Hello and welcome to the Titus Timeout podcast. I'm Jenny Abney Civvy, and this week I'm going to talk about the different Flowbar border types. Flowbar comes in a lot of borders like 11, 22, 66, 77, 14, and so on, and it seems confusing, but when you break it down it all makes sense. There are basically 5 different types of frames. Frame 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, which is also used in frame 7. The main differences are the height of the frame and the length of the flange. So frame 1 looks something like this. So let's draw the extrusion from an end view. At the top of the frame comes down, there's a little lip at the bottom and a little piece that sticks out here, and that's actually where your mounting brackets go. And then you've got the flange on the bottom and connect it to the main extrusion. So this is frame 1, or at least my artistic rendition of it. The end of the flange is flush with the frame. So this means that you can have it mounted flush against the ceiling or flush against a wall. Now let's look at frame 2. Frame 2 is designed to be taped and spackled into a hard ceiling, so the diffuser just looks like an open slot when you look up from the ground. It looks like this, so you've got kind of the same main extrusion here, but the flange is longer and tapered. Just a little bit of exaggeration, but you can see what I mean. And then let's connect it again. So the long tapered flange would be taped and spackled to blend into the ceiling completely. Next we have frame 4. Frame 4 has an extended height, so you can use it in uneven ceiling heights or where the ceiling meets a wall. So again, let's draw this main part here, the same as the other ones. The difference is the flange is lower. So the flange is flush, like in type 1, so that it can be mounted against a ceiling, but is extended in this section here so that it drops lower than frame 1. Frame 5 has a similar application to frame 2 where you want to hide it in the ceiling. But instead of tape and spackling over a long thin flange, the flange is angled. So let's draw this. Again, this main section is the same. But the flange comes down like this. So you would cut the ceiling tile to match this angle and then butt it up against it and then clean off the edge where the flange actually meets the ceiling. Now let's look at frame 6, which is also the same one used in frame 7. It has an extended flange that allows the ceiling tile or sheetrock to sit on top of it. So let's draw on the main section. And I've run out of room, so let me give myself a little more room. So the flange is longer on the back, so instead of being flush like flange 1, it extends past it, and that way the ceiling tile can lay on it, or it can be pulled up to the sheetrock ceiling. Now when you start combining these frames, you get the different Flowbar borders. So 2 frame 1s is border 11, a frame 1 and a frame 4 make border 14, 2 frame 2s make border 22, and so on. So let's look at a couple examples of how you'd use them. I will save you my drawing skills and actually just bring in pages from the catalog. So this is border 11. You can see both the flanges are type 1. You put them together to get border 11, and you can see that it's just butted up against the gypboard ceiling. Let's move this out of the way and pull up a border 22. So this shows border 22. You can see there are 2 frame 2, and over here there's tape and spackle that blends it into the ceiling line. So if you were to look at this from the ground, all you would see is the opening of the slot, and it's a really nice looking diffuser. Let's move it out of the way, and now let's look at a border 55. So border 55 has an angled flange, and you can see the gypboard ceiling is cut at the same angle, and then there's a little bit of spackle up against where the two pieces meet to kind of finish up that corner. This also looks really good from the floor because when you look up, all you see is the opening for the slot. Next, let's look at a border 14. So the border 14 has one frame 1 and one frame 4, making up the border 14. You would use a border 14 like in this installation where it's against the wall on one side and then it's on top of the gypboard ceiling on the other side. Now let's look at a border 66. This example is set away from the wall so that you actually have a return air slot against the wall. So it's two frame 6s which have a long flange. The gypboard ceiling is sitting on top of it, and on the other side there's just a bracket on top that's holding it in place, and then you can see that there's a section that allows return air to go up into the ceiling plenum. Let's move all of these down so you can kind of see them. That's the overview of the different types of Flowbar borders and how they're used. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thanks for taking a time out with us.